old sink that I bought for $15 from Habitat for Humanity. I have tons of sinks. The ceramic ones are more expensive. This was started at 30. I asked the guy if he'd give it to me for 20. He's, I'll give it to you for 15. He said that iron cast, what do they call it? Not iron cast, but cast iron sinks are hard to get rid of. So that hose that you see in there leaks a little, and if I leave it in there overnight, it'll just by the morning there will be a full sink of fresh water in there for them. They finally realized that they could make their way into the middle of it. I made like a little ramp for them to go up. This is all half compost, which I'd had cordoned off for a while, and then after it starts breaking down a lot, it turns into this mound here, which they just walk on and you know, pick at the edges and get worms. I'll show you an example. So if I start digging here, they'll think like, oh, there's worms down there, and there usually are. One of them will make their way down here and start looking for worms. They're very smart girls. Check it out. See if you can find anything. They see more stuff than I can, usually. We have 4 girls. That is Vader, right there. She used to be all black. This one is Coco. And the 2 in the sink are Pip and Ivy. So cute. All our trimmings, all our organic waste from the kitchen goes into this compost basically, and just eventually turns into beautiful dirt that you see here. And just cycle keeps going and going. And at one point we'd bought a bucket of red wigglers from a gentleman in San Diego, and we were growing them. You know, we were doing our best to just grow them in buckets, but turns out if you just throw a few red wigglers in with the compost, they'll just procreate like crazy, and then you'll always have red wigglers if you just leave a little of the compost behind. Oh, ducks. That's it, work day's over. So as you can see, backyard, this used to be the playground for the kids, sandbox. Now it's become half sandbox, half compost pile. And then there's a little raised garden over there. And then pretty much anything, anywhere that there is land, my wife likes to use for gardening. But that's mostly the front yard. This backyard is for the ducks, because anything she grows has the potential to be duck food. So they have leftovers. They love weeds. And then of course we always get them fresh water each day. That's a bucket of water that's been sitting there. I must have 2 buckets like this, 2 about this size, and then a whole bunch of little ones throughout the yard about that size, which I put out for them every day. And they when they're foraging in the dirt, when they're eating their duck food, they need water constantly, to fresh water constantly, to help digest the food or something. I'm not sure, but they're always looking for water. And I'm a little excited today because this is the first time they've actually gotten into the sink. I put it a little bit high so that when the day's done, I could just pull out the plug and then the water will go into the compost and water the compost. So cute. And then we just, like I said, use that hose right there to let it fill up overnight. It's a leaky hose, so it fills up overnight, and that's that. It's wonderful. Little duck. What you see over there is a greenhouse over in the distance in front of the duck, and it's surrounding it's blocking off actually a little garden which my wife has in the corner over there, which we made by doing I think they call it layer composting. You just put down like a layer of green, and then you put down a layer of brown, and then you put down a layer of horse manure, and you just keep doing that, you know, in layers, and it sinks down, it sinks down, it sinks down, and then eventually you just leave that sitting there for half a year or whatever, and then it just turns into good dirt, and she's growing potatoes in there right now. This that they're munching on down here is sweet peas, or what's left of the sweet pea vines, which we got a lot of this year, and one blew over, or I should say fell over. We had it propped up on what you know, our version of a little teepee. It's a little hard to explain, but anyway, it was growing up the teepee, and it fell over in the wind. So we harvested the sweet peas, and then we gave this to the ducks, and they love it. And then this tree behind me is one of their favorites. Oh, and I got a couple eggs over there. They're slowing down on the laying, but I'm hoping once spring rolls around, which is soon, they'll start laying more. We're only getting about one a day out of them, from one of them. And they go in shifts like that, but at points they all lay at once. And so that's 4 eggs a day, and that's hard to keep up with, so we end up giving a whole bunch of them away. But this is just fun and wonderful, getting to hang out here with the ducks. It's even better when my wife's out here and we get to enjoy them together. Now, funny enough, these ducks do really well when, you know, they're walking on just earth or sand or things that to us, you know, would be unnatural. It's when they walk a little too much on the paving stones that they develop something called bumblefoot. And then we have to start, you know, bandaging whatever foot is bumbly until it heals up or gets better. But it's funny, they develop bumblefoot if they walk on smooth surfaces which are unnatural to them but natural to us. Preening, always preening, always cleaning and preening. And we have to clip their wings because they could, one of them has flown over this fence here into our neighbor's yard. Fortunately, our neighbors don't usually keep their dogs in the yard, so we got lucky, and Kelly saw, and she let me know, so I ran over to the neighbor, and he kindly let me go in his yard and scoop her up. One has flown over this little fence. So we learned early on that you know, when they molt and get their new feathers, we really need to preen them. Otherwise, we need not to preen them. We really need to clip them. Otherwise, they get a little daring on us. But anyway, little ducks, happy ducks. So remember, fresh water every day. This has been out since the morning, so approximately 8 hours or so. I try to do it at night. I try to set out the freshwater buckets at night so that I don't have to do it in the morning when it's cold. So in the morning, all there is to do is just let them out. My wife usually likes to do that, so I get sleep in for a few extra minutes on the days that I work. And on the days that I have off, I'll usually come out here and hang out with them in the morning. Vader's around here somewhere. She's all the way, I don't know where she's at, but she's out there somewhere. Alright. And in about, I don't know, about an hour or so when the sun goes down, it's time for them to go to sleep. And let's see, that's our little thing that we built for them. The thing on the right that you see is greenish used to be a little kid playhouse, and the thing on the left we actually physically built. I guess I could walk over there and show you. Hey girls. So there's a little kid house that we attached. That's their little back door. And they like to sleep in there at night. So it's covered. Yeah, it's mostly covered. And then this is their little duck run, as we call it, where they sleep at night. We close that off so no owls or other type of predators or dogs in the morning get to them. And then inside is just a couple of upturned logs. They like to perch on those, and a little you know, for laying eggs. Sometimes they'll lay in there, sometimes they'll just lay or make a little nest in the yard somewhere and lay over there. We have food for them at night, so there's none in there right now. And there's a little sleeping area again. And then this closes off too, of course. And what was the other thing? Oh, yeah, and then we have a separate area up there in the yard for duck food. Woo-hoo. And like I said, I have a lot of these little water dishes just laying around everywhere for them to drink out of. And that's that. And here's that little compost pile. Here's the little mound I was working on earlier. All right, signing off.